Okay, we are getting close to being to get started. Um, we're just waiting for a couple more people to join, and then we will get going with all the info. And if no one joins, Bianca, you may have a one-on-one session or two.
Bianca, let us know where you're tuning in from and what time it is where you are.
Okay. Well, we'll go ahead and get started. It's about 5 after the hour, so people may still join as we get going, and that's totally fine. This morning, PJ's on vacation, so you are stuck with me, Alyssa Morrison, the Director of International Recruitment and Communications. And I'm going to get our slides back to the beginning. All right. Um, I've worked at MSU for about 8 years, and I've been leading this team for just a couple. And with me today, I have the amazing Violet. Violet, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Violet Kind. I'm the International Enrollment Coordinator here at the Kearney International Center. If you ever have any questions, maybe I've talked to you before, if you emailed international@mnsu.edu. I work with a lot of our incoming students to help them get through the whole process of getting enrolled. And yeah, I'm really excited to meet you next month already. Wow.
So crazy. It's next
Yeah.
month already, but yeah.
Wow.
Awesome. So today we're going to talk a little bit about paying your I-901 fee, how to schedule your visa interview, and then preparing for your visa interview. Um, so today we'll go through that. But if you do have questions about a potential late start and things like that, we will likely have time to answer those questions as well. So we'll go ahead and dig right in. All right. So after you get your I-20, you do need to pay the SEVIS I-901 fee. I totally understand that many of you are strategizing when to pay this fee um, based on when your visa interview is, essentially. The one thing I will say is you want to make sure that you are making that payment at least 1 week in advance of your visa interview. So it's really important that you do that since you pay your fee in one system and then the US government needs to migrate that information over to the embassy. And sometimes it can be delayed. So be sure that you're doing this at least 1 week before your appointment, if not sooner. I recommend doing it pretty much as soon as you have your visa appointment booked or even beforehand, just so that you know that it's done. The SEVIS payment is $350 and it is valid for 12 months. What it's important for you to remember is we have no part in this fee. We don't see any of that $350 on our campus. None of that comes to us. So that also means if you have questions about the payment or if something happens and you're not able to get a receipt, all of those questions we're not really able to help you with. We would direct you to the FMJ fee website customer service. It is really important to keep that receipt once you pay your I-901 fee. Why? For that reason I talked about a little bit earlier. Sometimes it can take up to 1 week for that payment to show up in the system for a visa officer to see. If you bring the printed receipt along with you, you could potentially show that as evidence that yes, you did make the payment, even if it is not showing in the system. That being said, I do want you all to recognize that even when you bring a print receipt, that is it's based on the visa officer's discretion of if they take that proof or not. So it's really important, again, just make the payment at least 1 week beforehand. Ensure that you've input your CVIS ID correctly and all of your information to ensure that everything gets through correctly. Violet, I know that you're talking to a lot of students at the beginning of their journey. Is there anything about the I-901 fee payment that you would add based on what students ask?
Um, I guess some of the payment methods are different varying on which country you're paying it from. So you might be able to only pay it through like a bank transfer. But you can often pay it with credit card. Alyssa, anything you want to add about that?
That's a great point, and thanks for bringing that up. Yes, payment options do vary. Um, for some of our students coming from certain West African countries, sometimes your only option is going to be Western Union payment. So you might have to go to your local Western Union office. Um, I really recommend, if at all possible, use a credit card or a debit card and pay the fee online. If that option is available to you, it will be the fastest and most reliable way. You can pay the fee with a mail order check. But it says right in the name of that, you actually do need to physically mail in your I-901 application and the payment. And, if you're trying to get a visa appointment quickly and get your evidence, that process does take a really long time. So if the option is available for a credit card, online payment, that is typically going to be the easiest way forward for you. All right. So um, once you have your I-20 and you've paid your I-901 fee, then the next step is to schedule your visa interview. So right now, we all know that can be a little bit difficult. So it's really vital that you are checking the website probably daily at this point. Sometimes the embassies are giving out appointments, just 5 or 6 at a time. And so it's really hard if you aren't checking daily to make sure that you're actually getting a spot. Um, if you're in a location where agents are active, those agents are also looking for those interview slots. And so you kind of need to be in there and almost compete for them. Um, so when you schedule your visa interview, we do recommend searching for the US Embassy or consulate that is nearest to you. Typically, this is going to be the easiest because that post is going to understand your geographic region and socioeconomic background situations, political situations. They'll just have an understanding of your area that may make getting your F1 visa easier. You can go to other locations. Sometimes, because they may not be super familiar with your specific country of citizenship, it might mean that you have extra scrutiny on you because they simply don't know your background as well as maybe those individuals coming from close by. Additionally, let's say you're in Hong Kong and the visa officers, interviewing a lot of Chinese students, and then all of a sudden in comes a Thai student or in comes a student from India. For the visa officer, it's really just going to be a little bit of a surprise. And it may mean that they ask more questions because they're just trying to understand why it is that you came to a new location. So after you choose the embassy or consulate you want to go to, you are going to complete your DS-160 online. We're going to talk a little bit about that in a moment. So I'm going to go on from there. Once you have that DS-160 in the system, you will print it out. You should print it out. Please print it out so you have a copy, or at least save a digital file on your computer. And you need to make sure that you have that barcode for when you actually go into the system to make that visa appointment. When you confirm your visa appointment slot, that is when you will be asked to pay the $185 visa fee. So this fee is per appointment. So if you are, you go in once, you're denied, and you go for a second appointment, you will need to repay this $185. So, simply for financial reasons, we really want you to go in and be successful on your first chance, if at all possible. All right. Tips for filling out the DS-160. It's almost, yeah, it's like an SAT or an ACT. I feel like this is kind of a test in certain ways. So what we want you to know is we understand that the DS-160 is complicated. It can be confusing. And most of all, it's just really long. So be prepared and be ready to sit down and complete it in one sitting. It really will take you about 90 minutes to complete the DS-160. So what we recommend is setting time aside where you will have privacy to fill out your DS-160. Your DS-160 is the form that the visa officer is using to determine if you are a qualified candidate to come to the US or not. So if there is a spelling mistake on there, if you forget to put something on there, if you accidentally put a wrong city, all of these mistakes could result in a visa denial. And so that's why we really want you to be focused on the DS-160 while you're filling it out. We want you to be prepared with all information. And above all else, you need to be honest on the DS-160. Okay, they will know if you do not put all the information. So even if you think, oh, well, I just won't put that I have relatives in the US, and then, that'll be fine. They won't even realize. No, they will. They are checking on your application before you arrive. And if there's a discrepancy between your DS-160 and the background check, that's not good for you. Okay, so just be honest. Before you begin the DS-160, we do recommend that you prepare your photo. Anyone who has ever taken a passport style photo knows that it can actually be more complicated than you think. In order to get your eyes where you need them, to have your eyes open, all of the different requirements. So do not tempt fate and do this in the middle of filling out your DS-160. Okay, be proactive and don't let fate dictate your actions, and just go ahead and get that photo prepared beforehand so that you actually can just find the file on your computer and upload it into the application. The last thing I'm going to say is for your US point of contact information, we do want you to put Minnesota State University Mankato's information there. That is your point of contact because you are coming to the US on an F1 visa, and your reason for coming here is study. So that is why we should be your point of contact, and not necessarily your auntie who might live in Minneapolis and is really excited you're coming to Mankato. But that's not why you're coming here. You are coming here for your education. So in the US point of contact, please, you do not need to list a contact person. You can say, do not know. That just means to the embassy that if they have questions on anything, they can contact any DSO within our office, and we have about 10. So it's going to open up the ability for us to give information if needed. For the organization name, of course, you're going to put Minnesota State University Mankato. That's very important. Relationship to you is school official. All right. We really like you, but you're not our family. You're not our friend yet. We are your school officials. So go ahead, put that in. Street address, Centennial Student Union 250, city, Mankato, state, MN, which stands for Minnesota, and the zip code is 56001. We recommend putting our main line for phone number, which is 507-389-1281. I think most of you know that our admissions line is 507-389-5200, but we want to make sure that you have the best ability to get a hold of someone, or a visa officer does, which is why we recommend the main line. And then I know you all know this, email international@MNSU. So make sure that these are the items listed on your DS-160 as your US point of contact. The other thing to really remember is you will not necessarily be able to go back and review your answers on the DS-160. So as you're going along, it's really a good idea to save your answers, screenshot them, save them on your desktop, but make sure that you have a way to go back and review that information so that when you go to your visa appointment, you're ensuring that your answers match what is on the DS-160. Some other tips for filling out the DS-160. This is a big one. It has been in effect for a while, but they are really ramping up their monitoring of this. And so you do need to list all of your social media accounts truthfully on your DS-160 form. So even if your accounts are private, even if you don't use the accounts, but they're still out there, if you've had an account somewhere in the last 5 years, again, even if you don't use it, you need to list it. If you do not list it, they could, if they find it, assume that you were trying to hide it, which would be considered fraud and may result in a visa denial. So go back through all of your social media use from the last 5 years and make sure that you list them on your DS-160. What if they're private? If your accounts are private, we recommend leaving them on private up until the evening before your visa interview. Go in at that point, make them public so that anybody can see what's there. The visa officer and the US government will know then that you are very transparent. You're not doing anything shady. You're using social media the way most of us do, which is to share good updates and selfies, right? So put it on public the night before your visa interview. And then after you have your passport in hand with your visa sticker, at that point, you can put them back on private. Okay. For travel, you may want to put them back on public. That's probably a personal preference of yours. The other thing to remember is embassies and consulates are using an automated system to locate your accounts and review posts. And so again, this is just why it's really important that you think back and list any accounts from the last 5 years, because even an innocent mistake could result in a denial. And so we really don't want that. So just think about YouTube accounts, like maybe you have a couple, maybe you have like an influencer Instagram account in your home country. You're going to want to list that as well as your personal. So just make sure you are being as accurate as possible. All right, so preparing for your visa interview. What do you need to bring with you? Okay, we're going to ask you to prepare a whole lot of documents and bring them with you. And then likely no one is going to look at them at the interview. Okay. But I am a firm believer in being over prepared rather than under prepared. And sometimes just having those papers in hand can give you a new sense of confidence when you are sitting or actually standing at the visa window, right? So, what do we recommend bringing? Your I-20, 100%. This needs to be the first thing. Your I-20 needs to be printed and you need to sign page 2. So a KIC individual will sign page 2 along with a signature from you. If you are under 18 years old, your parent also needs to sign. You're going to want to bring your passport. Obviously, there's nowhere to put a visa sticker if you don't bring the passport. So bring your passport. You want your I-901 fee receipt with you. You want your visa application fee payment receipt with you. You want a photo of for your visa. Sometimes those uploads fail in the DS-160 system. I don't know why. And so just be prepared and bring a physical copy of that photo with you. Bring your admission letter from MSU. That will help if they have any questions about start dates and anything like that. Bring your bank statements that you used when you requested your I-20, any academic transcripts from previous study, proof of English proficiency. Like your number one proof of English proficiency is your ability to converse with the visa officer. But having that test there, if there were any questions about your academic or our vetting process, you would be able to say, well, here are my English test scores. I do have the ability. And then documentation of ties to your home country, which we will talk a little bit more about. Again, I want you to know you're going to prepare these documents. 99% of the time, they don't look at them. Even if you want them to, they won't, because they're really focused on what is on your DS-160 and what you are saying. And those are the main things. So please don't be discouraged or frustrated if they don't look at your documentation. That's just how it is sometimes. But having it there still allows you to speak to your financial ability to attend or your academic ability to attend. So just bring it with, and it might help you have a sense of confidence. I will say if you bring it with, please have it neatly in a folder. Please don't have it like everywhere where you're like going all through it and you can't find stuff. That's actually going to make you more nervous and be more detrimental. So if you're not able to organize those and have them nice and neat when you go in, it might be best to leave them like with a family member outside. But I know you all. I know you all can do this. You're going to be able to organize. We recommend doing your research and preparing. So here are some resources for you. We really like Argo Visa. They have some really awesome videos. Another company that recently started is called ZF Visa, and you could look for their resources on YouTube. Excellent videos, excellent preparation tips. The US Department of State, they're the ones who are actually vetting you, so it's a really good resource to go in and look. I recommend using the US Department of State website to understand what your F1 visa truly means. It means that you are coming as a non-immigrant for education, and it might help you frame your answers. NAFSA, which is our professional organization, they have some really good tips that you could look into. And lastly, we do have visa preps here for you. They're with a trained student who has gone through the process, understands what it feels like to stand in front of a window with a visa officer who is like, not even going to look at you sometimes. So they can really help you prepare yourself for some of those things that are just not necessarily what we expect. All right, ties to the home country. So when you understand what an F1 visa is, you understand that it means you are coming as a non-immigrant, meaning you have no intentions of staying or residing in the US after your education. You are also recognizing that your number one reason for coming here is your education, not to work, not to visit family and friends, not to see all the cool sights that are out here in America. It is education. That is your reason for coming here. So, understanding that can help you really frame your answers to ensure you are showing ties to your home country. Okay, so what does ties to your home country mean? It is the reason that you are going to return to your home country after you complete your program in the US. It's really important to recognize that you need to prove that you are going to return to your home country to the visa officer, whether or not they ask you the question directly. Because your visa is a non-immigrant, you need to prove that you are intending to return home and not be an immigrant to the US. Some things that you could show and, to show and prove your ties are your family and friends. So if you're married, you have children back home, like nobody wants to leave their family, right? And so that's a really good way to say, like, hey, yes, I'm going for my 2-year master's degree, but then I'm coming straight back home because I have a baby. And my baby is, 2 when I leave, and when I come back, she's going to be 4. That's really hard for parents, right? So that's a really good way of framing it. If you have family back home, maybe you're really close to grandmother, grandma, you want to go home and be with her in the final years of her life. So these are all things that are very legitimate ties to your home country. Career opportunities. What if you have a family business? You're likely going to want to go home and support the family business. Or maybe you have a job at home and they've said you need to come here and learn these skills so that you can come back and continue to do your job. This is information that is vital to a visa officer, and they will likely not ask you directly. So you need to figure out how to bring that into your answers. And then continuing education. Maybe you're coming here to get your nurse's license, but then you really want to go home and get your training at home so that you can help people out in your home country. And sometimes that means you need to do additional training back home. How can you demonstrate this? Again, visa officers are not going to ask you directly, what are your ties to your home country? Okay, they're going to ask you, why do you want to study at Minnesota State University, Mankato? And when you answer that question, you need to work in your ties to your home country. I want to study at Mankato because my family business really needs a new accountant, and that's a passion of mine. I plan to go to the Minnesota State Mankato for their accounting program because I love their hands-on opportunities for learning. And then I'm coming home to help my family grow our business. Okay, so see how you do that? You just kind of build it right in there. They're not going to ask you, but you can bring that information in. So everything you answer should point back to your intent to return home. Who is your financial sponsor? My financial sponsor is my father. He has helped pay for my education my entire life. And my goal is to be able to come back home and make sure that I take care of him financially after my education is done to ensure that I'm continuing financial wellness in our family. Okay, there's just a lot of ways you can show your intent to return home in any sort of answer. Give concrete examples and be ready to give concrete examples. Okay. Be ready to talk about your sponsor and why your sponsor is really important to your journey and also for your ability to come home. Give concrete examples for the things that really brought you to Mankato to study here. It could be my brother's there. I know from his stories that the faculty are just really caring and they're going to make sure I'm successful. That's why I want to go there. And my brother is there. And so I know some of the difficulties already, and my family will be able to easily bring us back home together. Okay? Give concrete examples. And identify your ties before the interview. Show the visa officer your plans to leave the US and go back to your home country. This is kind of hard to do on the fly. You don't want to wing it, as we say. Wing it is when you do not prepare, you just make something up on the spot. A visa interview is the last place you want to wing anything. You get 30 seconds, and if you're lucky, you get 2 minutes to prove your case. Okay, so you need to practice framing your answers to be concise and touch on all of the points. Do not memorize your answers. They know that, and that really is not a good look. But practice talking through these things, because the more you practice answering it, the easier it will be, even when you're nervous. All right, so looking at some questions that are commonly asked, these are common questions, but not the only questions they could ask you. But start thinking about these and practice answering these with your parents, with your friends, like just practice. You don't even have to tell them you're practicing, just start practicing your lines. So, why do you want to study in the US and at Minnesota State University specifically? What are your academic goals in the US? Did you apply to any other schools? Who will be paying for your studies? What are your plans after you finish school? Ties to your home country? What's your motivation to return after completing your education? Sometimes they're not going to ask these questions. Sometimes they're going to skip all of these, and the only question they're going to ask you is who's your financial sponsor and why? And essentially, what they want to know in that case is why is this sponsor your sponsor? Maybe they see that it's your uncle who lives in Minnesota and they're like, we have never it doesn't seem like you have a relationship with them. Why? This doesn't make sense. Why is he now paying for your education? So be ready to go with an answer. In that case, it could be, well, my parents paid for my secondary education and they're still paying for my siblings' secondary education. My uncle, aunt, whoever your sponsor is, has decided with the help of my parents to be my sponsor for this one. But you really need to be able to show that. You need to be able to explain why does it make sense that this person is your sponsor? If you just have some random uncle that you've never even talked to, like the visa officer is actually going to be able to tell that from your answer and is going to think, I don't know, this doesn't seem like there's an actual financial plan here. We're going to deny. The other thing that I want you to think about is they might ask you, did you apply to any other schools? And I think a lot of times students think like, oh, I'm going to just say no because I know that this one's the one for me. We actually want you to apply to other places, as great as we are, because we are great. We want you to explore and make sure that this is the best fit for you. And so if you tell a visa officer, like, no, I didn't apply to any other schools, it might look bad. So even if you didn't apply, you want to say, like, well, I did my research, I reviewed all of these places that had my program of study, and ultimately I decided that Mankato was really the one place for me. And if I can't go to Mankato, the others just aren't a good fit. But they want to see that you've looked and you've researched and you're not just coming here because it's easy or because your family's here or because you get a scholarship. They want to see that this is actually a good fit for you. And truthfully, we want that too. We don't want anyone to come here just to come here. We want you to come and have a goal. All right. The day of your interview, eat breakfast. Please eat some breakfast before you go in because you're going to go through a security checkpoint upon arrival and pretty much have to leave everything there. You're going to want to leave all of your technology outside. So I even recommend leaving your phone outside of the embassy with a trusted family member or friend. If your phone is even at the security checkpoint, it's available for search, and you don't want your personal items available for search. So we recommend leaving all of that behind. You're going to be able to bring your documentation in, but you're not going to be able to bring your phone, computer, even a flash drive. Okay. So just be ready to do that. Show up well in advance in case there's a line. I have been to so many embassies, and even I sometimes forget that I have like a flash drive in my bag and I'm sitting there for 10 minutes searching in the line, holding up everybody else. So even in that case, like it's not your fault if you're late, but you'd still be late and you miss your shot. So just show up really early. Show up 30 minutes early at least. And your interview will be in English. So come ready to speak in English. Come ready to show that you are ready for an American education. So you need to speak loudly. Okay. You don't need to scream. But if you're up there and you're whispering like this and the visa officer's trying to determine what you're saying, that is not good. Okay. They do not want to have to sit and strain to hear you. You need to be able to speak loudly and confidently enough that they can hear you without issue. The other thing is, even if they don't look at you because they're looking at your DS-160, they're looking at computers, they're looking at a lot of things, you still need to look at them. Okay? Try to make eye contact. Don't be weird about it. Don't do this whole thing, but try to look them in the face and acknowledge them, because you have to remember, even though they may understand your cultural customs in your home country, they are on US soil and they are going with US cultural customs. And so you need to be able to look at them in the eye to show that you are not lying. Okay, eye contact in the US is huge. And, even who I know cultural customs, even I have to remind myself, just because a student's not looking me in the eye doesn't mean they're lying to me, but we're so trained. So just try your best, okay? You're going to be at a stand-up visa window, so wear comfortable shoes. Don't wear those stilettos. That's going to be a real regret of yours if you do that. Have your documents organized and give them to the consular officer when and if asked. Dress for success. Okay. Um, I know sometimes we want to be trendy, we want to be real cute when we get up to that window, but we need to show that we're going to be a good student. And so, jeans are fine, but make sure that they're not holey. Make sure that they're like clean and well pressed. Make sure that you have a nice shirt on, your hair is combed. um, that first impression is really important, okay? And so you want to make sure that you're giving a good impression. Probably no tank tops. I would really, if you're a young lady, I would stay away from crop tops. Just maybe talk to your grandma about or grandpa about what they think a professional outfit is, and go with those tips, okay? And again, eat a good meal before you go, because there's a water fountain, but most of the time there's not even a vending machine to get a snack. Okay. Here's the biggest tip, and honestly, the most important one. Relax. We have confidence in you. We have given you admission to our university because you have good grades. We have issued an I-20 because you have proven your financial ability to come here. You are a qualified student, and we have that confidence. So take that confidence with you. When you go in, before you go up to that window, take a nice deep breath. Remind yourself that you are a qualified, great candidate and that you are going to put your best foot forward, and then go do exactly that. And that is how you're going to have the best success at getting your visa. Okay, so deep breath, a nice inspirational message to yourself. I can do this. We're going to make this work, and just go do it. So with that, I know you're all going to be great. Remember, fall orientation is mandatory. Those dates are Monday, August 18th through August 22nd. If you are not able to arrive on those dates, or if you have a visa appointment that's in August that with the additional vetting might not allow you to get here for August, please, if you're an undergraduate student, go fill out that form. We do have an October start this semester, only for undergraduate students, but go fill out that form and we can get you an updated I-20 with an October program start date so that you can still get here. All right. Whether you come in August or October, we're so pumped to meet you. We're just really excited and we have a lot of awesome plans for you already. I'm super sorry. I didn't update this slide, so I'm going to move forward. But we do have more webinars coming up, so you can check the calendar that I know is linked within your KIC portal. On Monday, we have an Instagram Live. Come hang out with us, come chat. We'll answer pretty much any sort of question that's appropriate in those. All right. I think we did it. Did we do it, Violet?
I think we did it.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Do we
we
have,
do. We
yeah.
do have one question in here. Joy asked, I deferred my admission to spring. Do I have to upload new bank statements and resubmit all the documents? So, um, for admission, no, you, as long as everything was uploaded before because you were admitted, you don't have to worry about that. The only reason you would have to upload new bank statements is if the ones that you uploaded last time are now more than 6 months old. So you will need to resubmit that. Any other questions? Alyssa's really great at answering questions, so
I am.
she's kind of an expert. And when I say kind of, I mean she's an expert.
Yeah. Well, I bet that you all are going to go and be super prepared and have a great interview. Um, so Violet and I are just going to wish you good luck and a happy Friday wherever you are, whatever time it may be. And hopefully we'll see you in August or
Yeah,
October.
yeah, we're excited to meet you whenever it is. And reach out if you have any questions. We're here to help.